In every house, walls are built to keep people or animals that do not belong from entering at their will. Such measures of defense are beneficial. It would be harmful, however, if the people inside the family put up invisible lines of defense against each other. Among the families recorded in the Bible, there are clearly lines of defense among Isaac's family of 4. The story of Isaac's family is recorded in Genesis chapters 25 through 28 in the Bible. But the family begins with Isaac's marriage to Rebekah as recorded in Genesis chapter 24. When Isaac was 40 years old, his father Abraham sent a servant back to his hometown, Paddan Aram, to find a wife for Isaac. With God's help and confirmation, the servant successfully obtained Rebekah, who was very beautiful. When the servant brought Rebekah back to the land of Canaan, Isaac brought her into the tent of his mother Sarah, and he married Rebekah. So she became his wife, and he loved her. That's according to Genesis chapter 24, verse 67. The family had a great start, and then sadly, Rebekah was barren. Isaac prayed to the Lord for his wife, and after 20 years, God answered his prayer. Rebekah became pregnant with twins. The twins fought each other in Rebekah's womb, much to her pain. She went to inquire of God, and God said to her, 2 nations are in your womb, and 2 peoples from within you will be separated. 1 people will be stronger than the other, and the older will serve the younger. That's in Genesis 25, verse 23. On the day when she gave birth, the son who came forth first was named Esau, which means hairy, because he was red and covered with fur like a leather garment. The son who was born after him was named Jacob, which means to grasp, for he took Esau by the heel with his hand. Esau and Jacob grew up with distinct personalities. Esau was a good hunter, always in the field. Jacob, on the other hand, was quieter and often stayed inside the tent. Isaac loved Esau more because he often ate the game that Esau hunted. But Rebekah loved Jacob. After the twins were born, they continued to fight each other. Jacob was always thinking about competing for the right of the elder son, and one day he finally got a chance. Esau came back from the field, fainting from fatigue. Seeing Jacob making soup, Esau asked him for a bowl. In exchange, he asked Esau to give up his birthright. It seemed that Esau was so tired that he fell for the trick and even swore an oath. Father Isaac obviously didn't know about this. When he was old and his eyes grew dim, he planned to give Esau the blessing of his firstborn son, as it was the custom. Before Isaac blessed him, he asked Esau to prepare a meal of wild game for him to eat. When Rebekah heard of this, she went ahead and cooked Isaac's favorite food. Then she took Esau's clothes and put them on Jacob and wrapped Jacob's hands and neck with the skin of a young goat. As a result, Isaac was deceived, and Jacob succeeded in winning the blessing of the firstborn. When Esau came back from hunting, the tide was gone, and there was no use in crying and wailing. He held grudges and waited for the day when his father would be mourned to kill Jacob. When Rebekah heard of this, she decided to ask Jacob to flee to her parents' house in Haran to take refuge. We see there were 3 lines of defense in Isaac's family. The first one was between Isaac and Rebekah, who each held secrets from the other person. Isaac, for example, didn't seem to know God had told Rebekah the older would serve the younger. The second line of defense was between them and their 2 sons. The husband and wife each favored one child and seemed to pay little attention to the other child. The third line of defense was between Esau and Jacob. The rivalry between the 2 brothers was plain to see. These 3 lines of defense made the family full of conflicts. Thankfully, the family was not always stuck in the conflicted situation. From the subsequent development, we see these 3 lines of defense were later dismantled one by one. When Rebekah decided to let Jacob flee, she told Isaac then. Isaac called for Jacob and blessed him. And then he commanded him, "Do not marry a Canaanite woman." That's in Genesis 28:1. When Esau later learned his mother did not like he had married 2 Gentile women, He went and married the daughter of Ishmael, the son of Abraham. Thus, the two lines of defense between Isaac and Rebekah, and between them and their less favored sons, were already being torn down. When will the remaining line of defense between the two brothers be dismantled? Well, Jacob fled to Haran, married, and worked at his uncle's house, and went through many trials, so that he learned to no longer be cunning and deceitful. 20 years later, with fear and trembling, he returned to the land of Canaan with his family. Before crossing the Jordan River, he took the initiative to seek peace with his brother Esau, who was living in Mount Seir at the time. He fell on his face 7 times in a row before he dared to approach his brother. But Esau ran to meet Jacob and embraced him. He threw his arms around his neck and kissed him, and they wept. That's in Genesis 33, verse 4. This last line of defense in the family was torn down as the two brothers embraced each other and wept. Thanks be to God. The account of Isaac's family dismantling the defense lines is a great encouragement to us. Sometimes the lines of defense arise due to a lack of communication between family members or our personal weaknesses. Whenever you notice it, ask God for help to dismantle it as soon as possible. 1 Peter 3:11 says, "They must turn from evil and do good. They must seek peace and pursue it." Yes, the harmony of the family needs to be maintained through the continuous dismantling of defense lines. As a Chinese saying goes, harmony at home brings prosperity to everything. It is worth our efforts to pursue. May the Lord bring peace and prosperity to our families. Amen.